Hare Krishna, good morning. Om Ajnana Timrandasya Jananjala Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Staptam Yena Bhutale Svam Rupakadamayam Dadati Sva Padantikam Vandeham Shri Shri Yoda Padakamanam Shigum Vaishnavam Sha Shri Rupam Sagashatam Sakam Ragnatam Pitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savrutam Parjana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sakanalita Shri Vishakam Pitam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sinu Dina Bando Jatpate Gopesha Gopka Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kansna Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamama Haripriye Pankha Kalpta Visha Kripasan Vaivisha Patnam Pavanabhyo Vaishnabhyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. I'm very happy to be with you today. I'm in Bulgaria. It's 7 hours later here, but in Montreal it's now morning. It's very nice that you invite me to give the Srimad Bhagavatam class due to the situation of lockdown all over the world. We are not able to travel and are not able to come to Canada this year, but by Krishna's mercy, I can be with you today and discuss the 13th chapter of the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, during my presentation, if you have questions, best is to write them in the chat and we will discuss them at the end. So at the end there will be questions and answers. Today we will discuss the first 5 verses of this chapter, which is entitled The Behavior of a Perfect Person. So in this chapter, especially, the Narada Muni instructs Yudhishthira Maharaj about the 4th order, social order, the sannyas order. What are the duties of a sannyasi? What are the rules and regulations he must follow? What is his inner attitude? What should be his qualities? It's all described in this chapter. That, of course, this relates to the Vedic system, but the principles are also valid today. So we will go straight into it and read the first verse. But before we start, we glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna with the following words. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Narada Uvacha Kalpastvenam Paritvajya Deya Mantra Vaseshita Kamaikara Vidina Nirapeksha Saran Mahim. The translation. Shri Narada Muni said, a person able to cultivate spiritual knowledge should renounce all material connections and merely keeping the body inhabitable. He should travel from one place to another, passing only one night in each village. In this way, without dependence in regards to the needs of the body, the sannyasi should travel all over the world. So in this verse, different characteristics of a sannyasi are described. So I'm sharing the screen with you, and you should now see on the screen that parivrajaka, and that word is also used in this verse, parivraja, traveling all over the world. When Srila Prabhupada started to initiate devotees in the sannyas ashram, he asked them all to travel all over the world. That there are a few exceptions, but they are really rare. That there are some sannyasis he asked to take kshetra sannyas, stay in one place and develop that place. But usually it's all parivrajaka, like mentioned here, traveling all over the world. Like Srila Prabhupada gave the example that as it is, a sannyasi should stay only a few days in one place, go to the next. And so that is an important aspect of sannyas life. It's a traveling preacher, and it's the primary goal of sannyasis in ISKCON to travel and preach. That one Syrian devotee, I heard him saying that why do we need these sannyasis traveling all over the world? Have just local gurus. That's what we need. But if you look, sannyasis, they come somewhere and they give lectures and they look at the scriptures from a different perspective. That a new, fresh perspective, which is very inspiring for the hearer. And that's also required. That therefore, that's one reason to have sannyasis traveling all over the world. That another point made in this verse is a person able to cultivate spiritual knowledge. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna also discusses the characteristics of a sannyasi in the 16th chapter. 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is called the divine and the demoniac. And there it is said that abhaya sattva samsudir jnana yoga vyavastiti. These are the three qualities of a sannyasi. Before taking sannyas, you need to have these three qualities. First quality is abhaya, fearless. One who identifies with the body and mind can never be fearless. So there must be a certain level of spiritual advancement. And that spiritual advancement is attained by sattva samsudir. A sannyasi always is striving for purification of one's existence. It's a very important characteristic that because in the 5th chapter, Lord Krishna mentions also in other chapters, whether tad buddhyas, tad atmanas, tad nishtas, tad prajna, so it says that buddhyas, tad atmanas, tad nishtas, tad prajna, kachanta punaravita, jnana nirvita kalmasa. One who uses one's body, mind, and words in the service of Krishna, and who invests all one's faith in Krishna and takes shelter of Krishna, all his ignorance in the heart is destroyed. It becomes purified. Therefore, a sannyasi acts always on the liberated platform by using his body, mind, and words in the service of Krishna. Acting on a liberated platform is described in the nectar of devotion. Iyayasya aredasya karmana manasakari nikalash apavastasya mukta uchate, Shivan mukta sa uchate. Shivan mukta means a liberated person. One who acts as a liberated person is one who always uses body, mind, and words in the service of Krishna. And that's important. That is the final position of real renunciation, using everything in the service of Krishna without any sense of proprietorship. So, therefore, it is said in the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Kayena manasabudya kevala indiyartissu sangatjatmatma sudaye. A yogi acts always for one's purification. It is by purification that one develops knowledge. And so the third quality of a sannyasi, the first quality was abhay, fearless. The next is sattva samsthiti, striving for the purification of one's existence, for the purification of the mind and the heart. And the third quality, which is mentioned in this verse here, is called jnana yoga vyavastiti. The development of knowledge, study of the scriptures. A sannyasi must be well versed in the scriptures. That's required. He must know all the Bhakti Shastri books. He must have experience of preaching the Bhagavatam. This is a requirement, which is mentioned in this verse. Cultivate spiritual knowledge. And when one hears and becomes absorbed in this spiritual knowledge and practice this spiritual knowledge, then one renounces all material connections. And that's also important for a sannyasi. Srila Prabhupada, after taking sannyas, he met 1 or 2 times in all these years his family for a few moments, that's all. He would have no connection with his family. That he renounced all former connections. In that sense, a sannyasi is called, on the civil level, is dead, for that he has no material duties anymore. But of course, this renounced lifestyle that must be shown or demonstrated by living simple. And it is said, In this way, without dependence in regards to the needs of the body, sannyasi should travel all over the world. So he lives very simple. He goes from place to place, and there he accepts the situation, what he finds, what he encounters. He accepts it as the mercy of Krishna. That sometimes the sannyasi get nice accommodations, sometimes not so nice, sometimes the food is nice, sometimes not so nice. But it should be equal to that. Living very simple. So this chapter is focusing on the order of sannyas, which is called the behavior of a perfect person. But factually, we must all become perfect persons. We must come all to this level. You have the sannyas order, but you have the internal realization of sannyas. That internal realization that we should all attain. So also for us, it's very simple. It's very important to live simple. What does a devotee need? He needs a place to stay, a house or an apartment which is clean, clean air, clean food, nice food, and the heating, especially in Montreal, heating very important. And clothes, and what one really needs in the books of Srila Prabhupada to read. So one should keep one's life simple. That's also mentioned in the second chapter of the first canto. That one should live a simple life just for self-preservation. Self-preservation. So that means that we should work to live and not live to work. Don't make your life complicated by trying to achieve things which are quite difficult and cost a lot of energy which you otherwise can spend in for spiritual practice and attain self-realization. If you have a salary of $2,000 every month and you want to buy a house and you get a mortgage of $1,600 a month, is that intelligent? No. You become a slave of the house. It's not necessary to strive to attain things in this world. But what you easily will attain, that will be arranged by your karma. You will attain what your karma allows, because that's what you get, the reactions of your previous life. It's not by your word that you attain it. That's superficial, it looks like that. But it's not. That's not the reality. You get what you deserve according to your previous actions. So live simple for the sake of making spiritual advancement. So in the next verse, we have other prescriptions for the sannyasi. A person in the renounced order of life may try to avoid even a dress to cover himself. If he wears anything at all, it should be only a loincloth And when there is no necessity, a sannyasi should not even accept a danda. The sannyasi should avoid carrying anything but a danda and a kamandalu. Of course, the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, he would use everything in the service of Krishna. That he would use automobiles and get the sannyasis to programs with cars. But they would go to the program with the car, but they could not use it for their own comfort. So that's the principle. We use things in the service of Krishna. We don't get things for our own satisfaction, but for using in the service. So in the modern day age, that the sannyasis, they travel a lot, they fly, and mostly they travel with their laptop or an iPad but they take with them what they need for the mission, and that's the criteria in our movement. We should not take with us anything more than we really need. So now text 3, that Ekaiva Shared Bhikshu Atma Rama Napasaya Sarva Bhuta Shrikshanto Narayana Parayana. The sannyasi, completely satisfied in the self, should live on alms, that begged from door to door, not dependent on any person or any place. He should always be friendly and a well-wisher to all living beings, and be a peaceful, unalloyed devotee of Narayan. In this way, he should move from one place to another. So a sannyasi should beg alms. In principle, this cloth that sannyasis wear, the top piece, that's meant for begging. That's the idea. That you see here a sannyasi monk begging. So that means that he's living from alms, from what he gets from others. But he's not depending on others at the same time. And that's important. Whether he gets something or not, should be satisfied. He should always be a friendly well-wisher to all living beings and be peaceful. Of course, that requires purification of heart. That it is mentioned in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita that if one is not renounced, one cannot stop activities for sense gratification. So in the 18th chapter, Arjuna is asking the difference between sannyas and tyag. Sannyas, renunciation, and tyag, giving up the fruits of one activities. Sannyas, Krishna explains to Arjuna, is giving up the desires, material desires. Give up material desires. And tyag means giving up the results of one's activities. So a sannyasi does both. he has no material desires anymore. If he has still material desires, he cannot maintain the standard required and described here in these many rules and regulations. He cannot maintain that because he wants, its mind will force him to act for sense gratification. If there is still lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion, envy in the heart, then it becomes a disturbance in society. So one should only take sannyas if one is purified. Therefore, it is said in one of the Upanishads that I forgot the exact quote, that a sannyasi in Kali Yuga, sannyas is forbidden. But that quote comes out of a section of the Vedas that only deals with karma kanda. So karma kanda sannyas is forbidden. Karma kanda means follow the ritualistic ceremonies in the Vedas. They call it the flowery language of the Vedas, to get material benefit. That means that this is based on material desire. So such a person cannot take sannyas who follows the karma kanda. That's forbidden in Kali Yuga. But in person, the jnani sannyas and the bhakti sannyas, they are there in Kali Yuga. The Mayavadis, followers of Sankaracharya, so many sannyasis, and also the Vaishnava sannyasis. In the Sri Sampradaya, that so many sannyasis, and in our line, Madhavendra Puri, then later we had here Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, who reintroduced it in the same way as they practice it in the Sri Sampradaya. So these sannyasis are not forbidden. So sometimes devotees quote that Kali Yuga in Kali Yuga sannyas is forbidden. So why do you take sannyas? They don't have the knowledge. Where does this quote come from? It comes from Karma Kanda section of the Vedas. Therefore, a sannyasi must be free from material desire. Otherwise, if he's not free from all material desires, his material desires will force him to act for sense gratification, and a sannyasi cannot do that. Therefore, in our tradition, in the Vaishnava tradition, the sannyas uses body, mind, and words always in the service of Krishna. Therefore, he has a danda, a tridanda. In the danda, there are 3 sticks and a 4th on top. The 4th on top represents the jiva, and the 3 other bamboo sticks, they represent body, mind, and words. The sannyasi holds this danda to remind him, I must always use my body, mind, and words in the service of Krishna. So we can go to next text 4. Pasyettatman yato vishvam pare sat asato vyaye atmanam sa param brahma sarvatra sattasanmaye. The sannyas should always try to see the Supreme Person pervading everything and see everything, including in this universe, resting on the Supreme. So first, I want to go back to the previous verse because I forgot one point. It's on the screen. The peaceful, well-wisher, and friendly. Because a sannyasi is pure in heart, or supposed to be pure in heart, he should not be disturbed and is always peaceful. Because is Goswami, is not Godas. That Godas means that one is controlled by the mind and senses, and becomes a servant of the mind and senses. The mind says, I want to fulfill this desire, I want to touch this, we want to eat that, the senses want this and that, and it overcomes the intelligence, and one becomes a slave of all this contamination in our own heart of mind. But and then one becomes very disturbed and entangled. That's the cause of taking birth again. But the sannyas should become Goswami, and all of us should become Goswami if we want to be liberated from birth, death, old age, and disease. Means that we must have the senses under control by using body, mind, and words always in the service of Krishna, never for sense gratification. That's one of the first things Sutta Goswami says in the second chapter of the first canto. One should never act for sense gratification. And at the beginning of the second chapter, second canto, Sukadev Goswami says the same to Maharaj Parikshit. One should never act for sense gratification. That should be stopped. But to stop that, we need a better engagement. And that better engagement are devotional activities. So the sannyasi is always busy with study, with preaching, with traveling from one place to another, always very busy. No time for Maya. But in this fourth verse now, we hear that the sannyasi should always try to see the Supreme Lord pervading everything and see everything, including this universe, resting on the Supreme. So this is the realization of a sannyasi. He knows Krishna is outside and inside everything. Nothing happens without the sanction of the Lord. So when Srila Prabhupada was preaching, you see him on the screen on a morning walk. Always he was connecting things he saw with Krishna. Because everything and everyone is connected with Krishna, but some are serving Krishna indirectly and some directly. Some know they are a servant of Krishna. Others, they don't accept that they are a servant of Krishna, but they're serving Krishna through the illusory energy. So that is also an important mission of the sannyasi, helping everyone to connect with Krishna. That see Krishna's presence in everything. So now we will go to text 5. So text 5. Suktipat Bodhaya Sandap Atmano Katimatmadrik Ashambandam Samuksham Samaya Matram Navastutam. During unconsciousness and consciousness, and between the two, he should try to understand the self and be situated in the self. In this way, he should realize that the conditional and liberated states of life are only illusory and not actually factual. With such a high understanding, which he should see only the absolute truth pervading everything. So Lord Krishna has Yudhishthira Maharaj is speaking to Narada Muni is speaking to Yudhishthira Maharaj. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, short purport, the unconscious state is nothing but ignorance, darkness, or material existence. And in the conscious state, one is awake. The marginal state between consciousness and consciousness has no permanent existence. Therefore, one is advised in understanding the self should understand that unconsciousness and consciousness are but illusions, for they fundamentally do not exist. Only the Supreme Absolute Truth exists. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 9.4, Maya tatamidam sarvam sarvavyakta muktina matstani sarvabhutani natcham te shavastita. By me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I'm not in them. Everything exists on the basis of Krishna's impersonal feature. Nothing can exist without Krishna. Therefore, the advanced devotee of Krishna can see the Lord everywhere without illusion. So, the self-realized sannyasi can see, he should see only the absolute truth pervading everything. That what is the true significance of temporary material nature? That it is manifesting sometimes and sometimes not. When one becomes embodied and then one becomes unembodied, material nature manifests and becomes unmanifest. Material consciousness becomes manifest, unmanifest. So that by that we can conclude birth and death are not really important. Birth and death are factually imaginations of the mind. And that's important to understand. And it's not easy to understand in a conditioned state. That Lord Krishna says in 13:30, he states, Prakritchaiva sakarmani kriyamani sarvasva yapasatatatmam kartram sapashyati. One who can see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created of material nature, and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees. The spiritual is spiritual, and the body is material. How can they be connected? They are not connected. It's just the consciousness which comes from the soul becomes polluted. And pollution means we start to imagine, I'm going to die. But it's the body that dies. The body, why is the body there? Because of our previous activities and everything that's happening in our life. All these circumstances are created by our past activities, by the super soul. and nothing we can do about it. What is the proof that there is nothing we can do about it? We want only happiness, but you get also distress. We don't want the distress. But everyone has distress, and nobody wants it. Just, we are not in control of all these things, but we should become the observer. We should observe what's happening, and not thinking we are the doer. If we think we are the doer, the controller, then we are gone into, yes, into the cycle of birth and death. So we can only get peace when we start to realize who is really in control. As a spirit soul, we cannot find peace without devotional service. That Srila Prabhupada said we must make the best bargain, the best of a bad bargain. We got this body for sense gratification, and now we use it in the service of Krishna. So we see Maharaj Pariksit in the Bhagavatam, when he was cursed by Shringi, he immediately gave up his queens, his treasury, so many things he gave up. But he needs also to give up his bodily consciousness. It's subtle. Bodily consciousness. Thinking, I'm depending for my happiness on the happiness of this body and these senses and this mind. And that's the illusion. The illusion which is described here in this fifth verse, conscious and unconscious. So material consciousness becomes manifest and unmanifest. But we have our real eternal spiritual consciousness, which is now covered due to our covered with bodily consciousness. And that we have to remove. Once that is removed, we wake up and we get back our spiritual existence, eternal consciousness full of bliss. That now we are covered by this bodily consciousness. So in this way, you should realize that the conditional and liberated states are all illusory. The soul itself cannot be conditioned, nor liberated. It is always liberated. We imagine this liberation and this conditioning. The liberation and the conditioning means we become conditioned when we accept the body as a self. And we become liberated when we realize that we have nothing to do with this body. We are not the doer, we are only desire. And then one changes one's desire. One desires only to act spiritually, acting for the pleasure of Krishna, without thinking myself the enjoyer of proprietor. And that's acting spiritually. If one acts materially, that's under illusion, thinking we are the body. But this bodily consciousness is very deeply rooted. We have been educated in bodily consciousness. we have been educated to enjoy, to get a good job. And after getting a good job, yeah, first a good education, high diploma, then you can get a good job. When you have a good job, then you marry, and then children, you want them to be happy. So that is the defect of modern education. It is based on developing deeper and deeper bodily consciousness, and that getting honey, because in Kali Yuga, this bodily, one who is expert in this bodily consciousness is the greatest. His greatness is seen by his capability to enjoy. And his capability to enjoy depends on the capability to earn money. Money is sweeter than honey. And then one works very hard to get this money. And one thinks one will enjoy. But the propensity to enjoy is limited to what you deserve towards your karma. One becomes godas, expanded selfishness for oneself, for one's family, for one's nation. It is madness of this material world, and it makes the mind completely disturbed. Disturbed mind becomes like a hurricane inside, a storm, and it creates, at the time of death, one body after another, without end. But the sannyasi must be out of this illusion. Does not participate in everything what involves bodily consciousness. Is peaceful. It is peaceful, and he realizes that this life of the body is a drama performed by material nature, and I don't want to be part of that drama. Bharat Maharaj, after 3 births, he became Shad Bharat. Shad means mad, because he understood the situation and he did not want to become involved in anything of this world. But devotees, they also do not become involved in things of this world. They act in this world, but they are not part of this world, because they act spiritually by only serving Krishna, to please Krishna without asking something in return. And thus the platform of liberation. So I will stop here. Are there any questions? If someone wants to give a comment, okay. There is a question of ISKCON Montreal. Looking forward to hear the question. How does Maya affect the traveling sannyasi? How does Maya affect a traveling sannyasi? Maya is always there. And she always proposes so many things to the sannyasi that's like Srila Prabhupada. He was in a certain temple, and a devotee asked at the end of the morning class, Srila Prabhupada, do you have lust in your mind? And Srila Prabhupada said no. But then that same morning, he was going down and was leaving the temple to drive to another temple. And the devotee asked the question, open the door. And Srila Prabhupada looked at him and said, yes, I've lust in my mind, but I've no time for it. Of course, Srila Prabhupada was pure, but he was teaching us. Too busy in preaching, in so many activities, no time for Maya. Like when I was traveling with Prahlada Swami in the Balkan states, we had many flights together. And we were waiting for boarding the plane. And Maharaj, every time he would be absorbed in reading the Bhagavatam or other books on his computer, on his laptop, and he would not look up. He would not allow his consciousness to divert from the reading, and I became completely absorbed in it. No time for everything else. And that's Vyavsadmiko, or the one-pointed intelligence. And we should all train ourselves in that. Train ourselves to be always busy with Krishna conscious practice, cooking for Krishna, working for Krishna, learning verses for Krishna, always busy, too busy, no time for Maya. That's the way to stay out of the clutches of Maya. So never give your mind and senses a vacation. Always under control of the intelligence, engage them in devotional service. Otherwise, the traveling sannyasi will be affected. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I'm looking forward to, if there are moments, there is another question from Madhavananda Prabhu. If you said this is a movie, so there is nothing that can be changed around us, but only the way we see it. Then we can create a world around us the way we want. Not really. So first point is there is nothing that can be changed around us. That's true. We get reactions of our past lives and we cannot change it. But what we can change is how we react to it. That a devotee becomes the observer. He sees that, and that is explained in the 5th chapter, also in other places of Bhagavad Gita, but it gives a very practical example in the 5th chapter. Naiva kinch karomi te yukmamayeta tatvavit pasanspans pisansihan asangasans papasvasam palapam vichiham hinam unmisam nimisamapi indiacht silvachta deiti dariam. A person in the divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, opening and closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects and that he is aloof of them. So I desire to move my hand, and my hand moves. The devotee sees, observes how the super soul moves his hand. He does not think I'm moving my hand. My hand. So that's a vision of reality. We are only desiring. And Krishna gives us situations that, and it gives us reactions of our karma. And by that, if we are illusions, we see people who brings us the reaction that is our enemy, and I will retaliate. If we have that deluded vision, if we don't see that it's a reaction of our past karma, and this person has nothing to do with it, then we create new karma by our desire to react upon it. And we create, that does not mean that the person who brings reaction is not responsible for his action. He may have done a wrong action. And he will get for that later his reaction. But that's between him and Krishna. We have nothing to do with it. We should not see, not the one who judges, the one who brings us the reaction. What is the inner attitude of one who is the observer who sees that? It's explained in the Bhagavatam. Tatena kampam sasamiksham bunchat me vatikam vipakam ritvak favorbe vidadana maste shivet your muktivadesh dayapak. It sees Krishna, he gives me suffering, he gives me a reaction. And I'm so happy that I received the reaction because I deserve it by my past actions. I deserve it. And Krishna gives me only a little. That is a vision of reality. And it's not that we see this reality, how that we want, the way we see it now. The way it is described there. That we have created a world around us, yes, by our own past actions. But it are not only our actions, also the actions of others get reactions. Therefore, we get this pandemic that we are all responsible for it. It's all part of our reaction. Krishna does different things at the same time, and we may not be able to understand that. But we can understand these principles explained here. Now, there is another question. Could we say a sannyasi is dependent of the institution? Yes and no. A sannyasi, he is alone with Krishna. And he travels. That in that sense, he is independent to a certain level. He must take care of his own spiritual life, and is responsible for that. You must have a certain level of advancement to do that. To be steady, very steady, wherever you go. That at the same time, there is also dependence on the institution. In ISKCON, we work all together. That the sannyasi does not work independently. He comes to a temple and he asks the temple president or the senior devotees, what are the issues here? What are the problems? And can I help with it? I'm your servant. How can I help here? And he will direct his preaching so that he can help the devotees with the particular problems they are facing. So in that way, the sannyasi cooperates. That sannyasi works under authority. He does not travel on his own everywhere. He travels on invitation and on request of higher authorities. But at the same time, is independent in his spiritual life. He cannot be dependent on others. That unless you have the ability to be alone and still feel blissful because you feel connected with Krishna in your service, that one should not take sannyas. So both are there, dependent and independent. That it's a big topic, much more to say about it, but a very actual question. So thank you very much. I look forward to see you tomorrow and to discuss text 6. Hare Krishna. Jai Prabhupada.